In front of me is the all-new eRide Pro SS 3.0, and today I'll be testing it with the EBMX X-9000 controller installed. If you've seen my previous video where I went and tested this 3.0, you already know that I think that this bike sits at a really sweet spot at that 16 kilowatt mark. Honestly, these small size chassis bikes do really good anywhere from 12 kilowatts up to 20. I think that's the ideal range for these bikes to be power-wise. And I really like the 3.0. It's got the new updated brakes. It's got great tires that are just like the Shinko 241s. And it's got pretty decent suspension out of the factory with that Fast Ace on the front and the rear. So this bike overall is just worth a lot when it comes to bang for buck. But the one thing that I've really wanted to do is get more tunability out of this bike. And that EBMX X-9000 is going to make just that happen and even increase the power on it. Now, if you don't know much about the EBMX X-9000, that is a controller that is capable of a 40 kilowatt continuous output as well as 1,000 phase amps. It can even burst 1,500 phase amps, which is a monster amount of torque on a bike like this, but that's just what it can do. After installing a controller like this, the bigger limiting factor is definitely the battery and what that can output. So EBMX has gone ahead and tuned this bike to 18 kilowatts output. According to their testing, that is the safe mark for what they can get out of this battery, but that is still a big bump in power. But the biggest part is how much more controllable and tunable you can make that throttle curve to really put that power to the ground. That's what I'm out here to do today, is to test that and see how the eRide Pro 3.0 feels having an EBMX X-9000 controller installed. So let's go ahead and get geared up and start testing this bike. All right, so I've got the EBMX X-9000 set up and tuned for the 3.0. Really excited to give this a go. Right here, looking at the stats of everything, I'm going to scroll over to settings, modes and levels. This is what I'm going to be in. Gotta pop in here real quick. Since this first test that you were getting ready to watch, EBMX has made even more improvements to this tune. So stick around to the end and I'll explain what they did. But in the meantime, enjoy checking out the first ride of this EBMX X-9000 on the eRide 3.0. If I refer to mode 1, I will be in 12 kilowatts at 450 phase amps. If I'm at mode 2, I'll be at 15 kilowatts and 500, let me move this to 550 real quick, 550 phase amps. And if I'm in mode 3, I'll be at 18 kilowatts and 600 phase amps, which is the maximum amount of power that EBMX deemed safe for this battery. Coming over to general real quick, this battery is putting out 150 amps, which is pretty awesome. And it's nice that EBMX had already went and updated everything to be ready to go. If you just update the firmware in your app, you'll have motor type eRide 3.0, and then you can go and select all these settings that I've got on this. In the meantime, let's go ahead and start riding. There's a couple of different factors that I'm going to show as I'm riding. One is going to be kilowatt output. I want to see what the motor is truly putting out in terms of kilowatts. And then another aspect is going to be my overall range on this ride, because this is a really efficient controller. I want to see how the range does. I'm going to ride this bike the way that I want to ride it. I'm not doing some slow range test. This is not an official range test, but I'm going to go for a nice ride, get a feel for everything, and see where my range ends up after riding this bike pretty hard. So let's go ahead and get after it. Bump this up to mode 3, which is the 18 kilowatts. I'm just going to ride this bike at full power. Oh, it's so smooth. I like a bike that's got high power for when you need it, but it's also smooth and controllable for all the techie stuff. And so far, this is honestly feeling better, a lot better than the stock 3.0 controller, because the throttle is just so natural. When you twist your wrist, it does what you expect it to. I'm able to crawl up things like that so easily. And it's got some punch. If I twist that throttle, it definitely starts moving. It's pretty incredible so far. Let's give it a punch of throttle here. Oh, this thing's quick. Oh, that's quick. So smooth. Man, this is even smoother on the 3.0 than it is even the 2.0.
And that's a lot. That's even more power output out of this bike. It's incredible. Oh, this is fantastic so far. I think the thing that I love the most about this controller is that it just feels reliable. You know what you're going to get out of it anytime that you ride it. It doesn't scare you because you can tune it so well. I've got power to just flip the throttle and jump over a lot of these bumps. Just so fun. Flip up that. Oh, this is amazing how good this feels. Whoa, it just gets going. Incredible. Like I said, I'm not going for some weird range test. I'm just riding this bike how I want to ride it. And already, I've got just so much confidence from the throttle curve and knowing what to get and expect out of this bike. And not once has this throttle surprised me so far. Like, you take the SR, the Year Pro SR for example, that throttle can surprise you if you're not just constantly ready for it. And so it's hard to put the power down at times, even though that bike is extremely fun. It's a lot harder to manage than this one is. And this thing's still got so much juice. Wow. It's got all that you need and more, honestly. For this size of a bike, I don't know that I would want any more than what this is giving me right now, because I'm not using all of it yet at all. This is so much fun. Oh. Yes, dude, this is amazing out here. Once again, this is a bone stock bike. Aside from the controller, the wheels, the suspension, the brakes, everything's bone stock except for the foot pegs and handlebars on this bike. And it is ripping out here. Alright guys, so I just sprinted a solid 5.4 miles. Currently, my motor temp is at 120. My battery level's at 78.7 volts. I'll have to do the conversion on what percent I'm at there. But let's go ahead. This is a pretty fast spot right up here. I'm going to see if I can do a true 18 kilowatt pull out of this. So it'll be interesting to see. It's honestly hard to do true pulls because it's all a matter of how much power I can get to the ground, how hard the bike has to work to get there. And right now, with how efficient this thing is, it feels incredible. It doesn't feel like it's having to work hard to try to get to that pull. So I'll probably reach top speed without even having to get to that kilowatt level. But let's go ahead and see what I can do kilowatt wise on a pull real quick. Alright, let's get going. I'll tell you when I'm gonna be fully on it. That was a decent pull. I'd be interested to see what it does there, but that's not the one that I'm after yet. This bike is so insane. I cannot believe how incredible this throttle delivery is. It's so unbelievably smooth and controllable. I absolutely love this. Alright, let's do a pull right now. Oh yeah, baby! Nuts! That is such an insane amount of speed. Alright, I just went back and reviewed the kilowatt output, and I had a peak moment during that little sprint there that I hit 17.5 kilowatts pushing. With EBMX saying that they're able to do 18 kilowatts safely, I completely believe them, because this bike absolutely feels like that is the output. To kind of explain something, it's really interesting to go after a kilowatt number because you expect it to be this smooth thing, but there's so many working variables. You know, there's the bumps that you're hitting, there's just so much that is going to change your kilowatt output as you're riding, and the only time that the bikes are going to hit that kind of peak number is when it's under true heavy load, and that is kind of a difficult thing to get to when you only weigh 155 pounds like me and tend to ride pretty smooth. It's hard to get it to pull that high of a number because it's just so efficient, and honestly, it's hard to put down that much power coming out of a corner or whatever the case is. It's not an easy thing to accomplish, but the fact that the delivery on this bike is so smooth is what makes all the difference in the world, because I love this bike more than when it was stock. Just doing a controller on it. Absolutely blown away by how good this feels at the moment. I wish I had more suspension, but all in all, I'm having a ton of fun out here on this bike, which I think is the most important thing. And it's so easy to be smooth. That's incredible. Just roll on the throttle, and the bike does exactly what you want it to. And I love that it's playful enough to just blip the throttle and double through these giant rollers. I think this truly is the sweet spot. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, power on these bikes, at least this specific chassis, honestly shouldn't be any more than this. I think this is where you're gonna have the most fun and still really surprise yourself, because this bike is fast. Like, it's incredibly quick, but it's fun because I still feel like I'm the one riding the bike and I'm not trying to just tame it the whole time. That's what's so good about this controller right now. And that's honestly why I run it on all my other bikes, like my high-powered race bikes, because it's the only controller that can really handle that and adjust individual power curves to output. It's unbelievable. This thing's so controllable. I can just climb up anything. I'm gonna try to climb this hill. See if I can do it. Oh, that's tricky. Got that. getting up on a ledge. Oh man, I love this stuff. It's cool that I don't feel like I'm blowing through battery either. Like, I'm pushing this bike pretty hard out here and got plenty of range. Techie! If you haven't ridden an electric bike out in the hills or on ridge lines or honestly wherever, they are the most fun bikes because they're so nimble. This is the type of thing that truly just makes me feel like I'm having such an amazing experience. Just being able to be a mountain goat and create little features out of nothing. Like this. That's sketchy. Yeah, buddy. Dropping. Oh yeah, a little step down. That was cool. It's crazy that I feel like I'm only twisting the throttle halfway and I just get going so quick. Double, double, double. Yeah. This is unreal how much fun it is out here on this bike. You're able to truly do whatever you want on a bike like this. Out in the hills. Holy crap. I'm having the time of my life right now. Alright, I've gone 8.7 miles. I'm at 75.6 volts currently. Once again, I'll do that conversion. And guys, I am out here sprinting. Like, this bike has become so manageable and so playful that I'm really pushing it. And do not expect this to be your casual ride range test, because it's nowhere near that. This is the way that I get out and I enjoy riding and I train and I get my fitness going, is to come out and do sprints like this. And I absolutely love that, but it's not great for range tests because the more wide open you are, obviously the quicker you zap your battery. But it is interesting to see what I can do from a training perspective of riding hard and what kind of range I get out of that. This terrain can sneak up and bite you if you're not careful. So in going fast, you really have to time what you're doing. Wheelie over things. Make sure you put your tire down in the right spot. Because these are sharp rocks, they're ledges, it's all pretty gnarly. You can catch your foot peg on stuff really easily out here. It's just so much fun though. Well guys, I'm gonna go and enjoy the rest of this sprint. And I'll let you know what my range is when I get back to the trailer.
What a fun ride. I just got done with a 14.8 mile sprint. I ended up at 72.7 volts, which in my opinion is really good considering how hard I was pushing this bike. And I gotta say, that felt like a true 18 kilowatts, and the 600 phase amps that I was riding this at was insane torque-wise. I cannot believe how good they nailed this tune with how smooth and consistent the power is all the way through. As you twist that throttle, it just rolls on really nice and strong and just feels super stable underneath you. I really love what this controller did to this bike. I cannot believe how much of an improvement that was, because honestly, I thought the stock E-Ride Pro 3.0 was really good, but this controller is truly a night and day difference on this bike. And I mean, it looks incredible. You can't go wrong with something like that, but I'm really stoked on how this bike is. I'm able to push this extremely hard, have an extremely fun time. Man, that just made me feel like I wanted to upgrade and stiffen the suspension though, because of how fast I was able to ride this. It's rare that I get into such a flow state so quick on a bike, but I really had an incredible time riding and testing the EBMX X-9000. So you guys let me know what you think. I think this is worth the upgrade. And something that's super cool is any bike that you get, you can just go ahead and slap this controller onto it. So if you keep your stock controller, you can just put that back on when it comes time to sell this bike and move on to the next and still utilize that EBMX X-9000. So truly is a great controller for a long period of time as you go and ride multiple bikes, and as we all know, so many bikes come and hit the market. I mentioned earlier in the video that EBMX made more improvements to this tune. It turns out they were able to get 20 kilowatts out of this bike and do that safely. And that's the new tune that they put out on the market for when you go and get your own EBMX X-9000. I'm gonna put on the screen quite a few different settings that you'll want to use when you install this, but they took this bike up to 20 kilowatts off of the OEM battery. That is just absolutely insane. I'm really excited to actually update it and put in that new tune as well and go and test even further. I was already blown away by how good this bike felt, and it's unbelievable how smooth that power is. That makes all the difference in the world, because now you can put that power to the ground, and that wouldn't be doable without the controller that's on this bike now. So extremely exciting. The EBMX is continually tuning this bike, and they were able to produce that power. I'm excited to get out and ride it. I hope you guys are too.